Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who understand that there's more to entrepreneurship than finding the latest flash-in-the-pan strategies, who understand that in order to build your empire, you need a solid foundation. I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you can be on, and it's my mission to help you make that journey easier. In this show, I bring together the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist and mindset coach behind this show, and you're listening to the Wired for Success podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And today I'm bringing you a new exciting interview episode with another amazing world-class expert. And today it's going to get a little more spiritual and, dare I say, superhuman. So let's welcome CEO and founding director of the Vibravision Foundation, Nate Zeleznick. Nate, thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Claudia, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you and to be able to speak to your audience and add value how I can.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Well, usually I can tell my audience, my guest today is, say, a marketing or sales expert, and people know more or less exactly what to expect, right? But with you, it's different. I mean, I have to be honest, and I had never heard about Vibravision before we connected, and I suspect that most of my listeners haven't heard about it either. That said, I prepared, so I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I still can't quite believe what I saw. So I think it's best if I let you explain your method, Nate. Tell us about Vibravision.
Wonderful. Well, Vibravision is what we call, it's a certain aspect of the martial art and energy and breathwork art of the Central Javanese, like in Indonesia, the Central Javanese royal family. And this is an art that was held secret for close to 450 years until 1963, when they released it to the Indonesian public only. And then in 1999, myself and my brother Mike, we sponsored the very first demonstration of Vibravision, which I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. But it was the first demonstration in the United States, and we were allowed to become the very first non-Indonesian people to be allowed to train in the martial art, the energy, breathwork, and meditation, and expanded awareness art called Merpati Putih, which Merpati Putih means white dove in the Indonesian language. So it's interesting to see a martial art that is carries the symbol of peace and justice for humanity, rather than like black tiger or yellow scorpion or something that's kind of more animistic or like aggressive. So what Vibravision is it is a proprietary method of breath work, energy work, meditation, and certain skill development that allows the human body to perceive in our mind in a way that we never have before. And we have the ability to do this, but it's a certain method that unlocks this ability. And so the reason we originally brought Vibravision to America was to help blind people. Yes, blind people. Because I had seen a video where it showed people who were blindfolded, who were driving cars and riding motorcycles through traffic in Indonesia, and even military people shooting guns and shooting targets out of people's hands. And it showed a blind person on that video. And I had a synchronicity happen to me the day after I saw that video, where a blind woman, I saw, she could have been killed. Her dog led her into a light pole at a crossing when I was at a stoplight. But if the dog had done that when I was doing 50 miles an hour, it would have been a very dangerous and very tragic situation. So I saw this, I see blind people do this. And then the next day I see a blind woman who obviously could use what I saw on the videotape. And it just inspired me so much, like a calling inside me to find out who those people were. And when I did, my brother and I sponsored them for the very first demonstrations in the United States. And then they allowed us to begin training. And to that end, that was 22 years ago. That was in 1999. And we've spent the last 22 years taking this discipline, which allows blind people to essentially, quote unquote, see, even though it's not visual sight. We do not give blind people back their ability to see with their eyes. This is an internal vision where we're able to sense the vibration of the atomic matter around us, because everything vibrates, everything has a frequency, and all frequency has information in it. And we have the ability to decipher that information with other senses besides sight and besides, our normal 5 senses. And so we've taken 22 years teaching the martial arts, and then breath work and the energy work, and helping people to combat disease, but also become healthier and better in their lives, whether it's their business, whether it's their athletics, doesn't matter. This is something that improves everything. It's truly a panacea for a lot of different parts. If you're alive, this is for you. And so Vibravision, though, is a very specific application of it. And we've taken the past 22 years to prove this medically to the to optometrists, ophthalmic researchers, to physicists, and also to the blind community. And so now we're offering online courses that help people charge their energy, which especially for business people, proper breathing can help you, A, live a longer life, B, make better business decisions, and C, help you see into yourself and your relationship to other people so much that it's really shocking for most people once they get their breath in control and learn to breathe in a certain way, how everything else, their connections with everybody around them, it improves. It's really quite amazing. So Vibravision is something that is not just a seeing without your eyes. It is being able to see the things that we're blind to, which we are all blind to different things. We don't see what we don't see. And so this helps us unlock those parts of our mind that have been dormant and unlock those parts of our consciousness that help us further our life and have a better quality of life, because you can be a billionaire and miserable. Happens all the time.
So true.
And so, so that's a brief description of what Vibravision is, but also what it does. And then a little bit later, I can explain a little bit more of the why and the how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get to that. Definitely. So that's such an inspiring story. And it's for the listeners out there who haven't seen it in action, I highly recommend that you go and watch one of those short clips that you can find on YouTube. You'll see those blindfolded people who find their way through obstacle courses, or they sort colored cards and do other incredible things. So it's absolutely unbelievable. Now, as you said, I understand that Vibravision is based on this combination of martial arts, energy work, breath work, and this ancient meditation system. So how do all these elements fit together to help those people see without eyesight? How does it work?
Sure. Well, to look at the Merpati system, it's very unique in the martial arts world, where some of the listeners and viewers may be familiar with martial arts and maybe they're not. So a lot of times people look at martial arts and they look at the thing that they can actually see with their eyes, which if they have never practiced, they wouldn't really know the other parts of it. So they would see the martial arts forms like katas and things like that. They would see fighting, sometimes weapon work, and for the most part, they think that's kind of it. And then also you've got, MMA, which is fighting. That's not really martial arts per se, because it doesn't have the same ethos or, it doesn't have the same internal improvement part, but it is martial arts. And so one thing that makes Merpati different is there are 5 different aspects. So we have forms, we have combat, but then we have energy generation. So our entire body, obviously we run on electricity. If your heart stops, they're going to get out paddles. They're going to use electricity to shock your heart back to life, because our entire body runs on energy and electricity. So we also have energy healing. So being able to impart our energy to someone else. And we generate the energy. We're not a conduit. We're not a channel like Reiki or some other disciplines. We actually become more energetic. And now we have machinery, or we have equipment that can measure that, which is quite awesome. And then we have Vibravision. So these are all 5 different aspects, and they are kind of separate from one another. The martial arts forms and fighting, those really go hand in hand. When it comes to the energy generation, where we're able to break stacks of steel or stone, sometimes barely touching them, or using another object, putting our energy into an object like a straw or a belt or something like that to break metal bars. People just go, what? Okay, everything in the universe is energy. And so the only thing really holding us back from becoming superhuman is ourselves and our limitations and what society has said that we can or cannot do. So we do some pretty superhuman feats. And, the Merpati breath method alone, just the breath method for health and for this energy, is used in every branch of the Indonesian military. It is standard training, as well as many of their police forces. And so this is something they've been using for decades there to help their soldiers, because the results are unsurpassed when it comes to physical fitness and when it comes to energy. And so then with healing, that is obviously, you don't need to learn how to kick and punch to be able to heal someone. And then Vibravision, once again, is another standalone. It's a multi-sensory ability. It does not depend on the other 4 disciplines. It does actually depend on the energy generation, because kind of like a flashlight, if you have a flashlight with a dead battery, you're not going to see anything. You can have the best flashlight in the world. So you do have to have the energy behind it in order to make sure that you can illuminate what you're doing in a way. And so usually the way that this works in Indonesia is, well, first of all, they still do not train non-Indonesians there. So we're one of the only places in the world. There is a place in the Netherlands, in Holland, that there's Merpati Putih Netherlands, and then there's another one in Japan and one in Australia. So with this Vibravision skill, usually people would have to learn and go through the martial arts for 4 to 6 years before they would ever see any martial art or any Vibravision techniques. Our mission has always been to help blind people and to help all people, like you could say mind people, right? And so starting last year, a couple of years ago, we started offering immersive courses where people who don't have any martial arts background, who don't want to kick and punch and break metal bars with their body, because we realize very small percentage of the population would want to do that. But every single person wants to become more than they are, or most, I would say. Most people want to become more than they are right now. And everybody, there's a reason that the Avengers movies made $7.8 billion worldwide, is because everybody wants to have a superpower, but nobody thinks they really do. But the thing is, we all do in some way, some form. We may not be teleporting yet or levitating yet, but to be able to do a Jedi type skill of being able to perceive without your eyes and trust your intuition and your higher self to such a degree that you can make accurate decisions for your family, for your personal safety, for your business. That is not just possible, it's here. And that's why so many people come to us who are very affluent CEOs, people who are in charge of huge teams, people who are entrepreneurs that own dozens of companies. They come to learn Vibravision, not to see without their eyes. They come to see everything that they can possibly do and how good they can possibly be as a manager, as a husband or wife, as a person, as a human on the planet. And we have a 100% approval rate, meaning every single person that comes through is like, I am a different person now after just a couple days. And once you ring that bell, you can't go back. And so that's why this is so important for humanity right now at this time, because A, we can measure it. B, everybody needs it. And C, our environment is so toxic and we focus on our breath so little that taking care of our health, and everybody, most people have heard of this thing called COVID, and we know that it attacks the lungs, right? So making our respiratory system so strong that it can resist disease or it has a better chance. Well, I'd say that's priceless if it saved your life.
Definitely. I mean, this is so fascinating. And I use breathwork on meditation techniques as well as physical exercises in my coaching too, just to harness this power of the body-mind connection so that my clients can get these quick and lasting results that you just talked about, because they start to work with their brain and body instead of against them, right? So I really like how you bring all those elements together. And can anyone learn your method and get these results, or do you have to have special abilities to start with?
Sure, that's a great question. So about 4 or 5 months ago, it was earlier this year, we were on a symposium with some of the top consciousness researchers in the world. And recently we've been featured on a documentary called Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible. Mm-hmm. And I believe it's still on Amazon Prime, so everybody could go check that out. And if not, it's definitely worth purchasing to see this, because it will blow your mind with what people are now being able to do under clinical observation. It's really amazing. There's a new dawn of humanity really happening right now across the globe, really is. And so with the skills, I'm sorry, what was your question one more time? I got off on that tangent. Make sure you check this other stuff out.
No worries. So can anyone learn this method and get these results? And how long does it take? If you start at zero, how long does it take?
Okay, that's love that question. So yes, anyone could learn this technique, but we are very selective in who we allow in. Okay, so we do a background check. People have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I mean, we're serious about this because our promise to the royal family members was that we would release this in the right way for the betterment of humanity, not just to give it out and give it away. And so we are selective in who we have come in. But right now, we're only training in person. We're only training U.S. citizens and Canadian citizens. But we are working on allowing and also training in Europe. That'll be the next place that we go, is doing workshops in Europe, as well as allowing Europeans to come to America. And that's our 2022 goal. There's just legal things to go. And we also need to make sure that we can have people get into our country, because there are still some restrictions with travel. But as far as how long does it take, when you see people who are riding bicycles through the traffic, right, and they're driving go-karts or cars, or they're shooting targets, or they're reading printed material or reading text messages while they're blindfolded, that's kind of like looking at, say, Simone Biles. Everybody can learn how to do a cartwheel, yes, but to be a master at anything, it requires more than a week workshop.
Sure.
Right? So the people that you see doing that, they train for a couple hours every single day, and it usually takes upwards maybe a couple years to develop that skill. But I was a virtuoso clarinetist, and so to play with symphonies, you can't just go to band practice once a week for 45 minutes and play, and then expect to play Mozart's clarinet concerto with the Utah Symphony. It's just not going to happen. So the thing is, though, when you go into a practice room for an instrument, and you can still make some music, and you're now a better person because you're feeling that in your soul, well, it's going to improve your life to some degree. So for us, that's why we started doing immersive events, because usually the methodology is 4 to 6 years of martial arts training, then can learn the vibration, and then train a couple times a week for just an hour or a couple hours, and then take years to develop it. So we decided we wanted to compress decades into days. And so instead of having people train for so many years and go through so many gauntlets and tests to be able to learn these different techniques, we go and we give it right away at the start, so people can use these advanced techniques right from the beginning. And usually it's within the first day or maybe 2 days of a workshop that people are truly mind blown with what they're doing, no matter how much meditation or energy work or previous experience they have in other disciplines. This is different. And so right off the bat, people within 48 hours have mind-blowing experiences, breakthroughs. And then by the end of 5 days, pretty much, I'd say at least 90% of our participants are able to sense things around them in a way that they never did before. Now, refining that to the point of reading print, navigating obstacles, that just comes with practice. And the cool thing is it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Well, okay, driving cars in traffic, we don't start off on week 2. That's not, no. We don't start off on week 2. That is something that it takes a while, and not everybody develops that skill to that extent. But the cool thing about having these internal, like, latent superpowers is kind of like Forrest Gump. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get until you unlock them. You don't know what yours will be. Some people are amazing healers. Other people have very good Vibravision skills. Other people remote view very reliably, like, hey, the keys are under the blanket and the people are 1,000 miles away. And they go, oh my God. And that happens regularly. And so who knows what people will unlock. What I can tell you, though, is that through proper breath work, as you know, it helps us have a longer and healthier and more aware life. And nothing's more important than that. No amount of money, no amount of prestige. It was Gary V, and this is something for everybody who's an entrepreneur who's listening to this. I listened to it was Gary Vaynerchuk yesterday. Somebody came up and asked him, and they're doing the selfie thing, and they're like, "So, Gary, how important is health in your business?" And he looks at him, he's like, "Well, if you're dead, you're out of business."
That's so true.
It's true. Like only Gary Vee can say, that's true. If you're dead, you're out of business. And so the cool thing about what we're doing here is it helps people in their professional life and especially their health.
Yeah, I mean, health is absolutely the foundation of any sustainable growth. That's what I tell my clients, what I tell my audience all the time, because if you don't have your health, you don't really have anything. So you need your strong health to build on that. It's your foundation. So do you know more about the science behind your method that can explain how it works? I mean, seeing it is one thing, but understanding it is something entirely different. And you have to forgive me here, but the scientist in me has a hard time just accepting things that I can't explain. So I always like to understand the underlying mechanisms just so that I can adapt and tweak methods if necessary. So what do we know about the science behind the method so far?
For sure. I love that, because it's a big thing for me as well. I mean, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And so I was very skeptical before the Indonesian people that we brought here originally came over here. I was so skeptical. That's why I brought them here, is because I didn't believe what I was seeing on that tape. And even though they told me they'd trained blind people and they trained the special forces, and their most elite special forces use Vibravision in live combat and search and rescue, I still didn't believe it. And so once I saw it with my own eyes, then I believed it. But it's not just about the what. It's like you said, it's about the how. And so to that end, we've been working with one of the top neuroscientists in the entire world. His name's Jeffrey Fannin. And so a lot of people that are listening may be familiar with another doctor named Joe Dispenza. And Jeffrey Fannin was Joe Dispenza's top neuroscientist for many years and did all the brain scans on his meditators. So all of the research that up until just even a year ago, Dr. Joe would reference was actually Dr. Jeff's work. Mm-hmm. And so a couple of years ago, Jeffrey Fannin, Dr. Jeff, came to Utah and he brain mapped our Vibravision practitioners. And after 4,000 brain maps, with 4,500 brain maps of people, he said he's never seen anything like what he saw in our people. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? You're the brain scientist. And so we're still working on getting that. We're still working on more funding in order to fund his work, because science is not cheap. But he is very enthused and he's got the data. And so now it's just a matter of compiling that to actually get a better idea of what's happening in the brain. Now that also is still the what. The how that is something that we're still working on. We don't know exactly what the mechanism is because it's not just a physical thing, it's a quantum thing as well. And so we did some testing earlier with Nassim Haramein earlier this year, world-renowned physicist, and we're looking forward to going back and doing more. We need more data in order to publish any results on that.
Yeah.
We need to have a bigger data set. But the thing is what we were doing there, his researchers were freaking out. They were like, we've never seen this. This is amazing. And I'm like, what is it? They're like, we're not going to release anything until we get a bigger data set. And I'm like, that sounds great. So the cool thing is we're on this cusp, we're right on this edge of major breakthrough. But to answer your question more succinctly, we don't know.
Awesome.
Don't know.
Let me know when you do, because I want to see that science.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited. I'm very Vulcan in a lot of ways. Like, I want to know the how, because we know it works. We know it works, but it's kind of like the bumblebee. The bumblebee technically shouldn't be able to fly, but don't tell the bumblebee that because it's too busy collecting pollen. But I still want to understand what is the mechanism? How does the bumblebee fly? And a lot of people do. And so that's something that we're working on for the future. Hopefully 2022 will be our year. We were looking for 2020 and 2021, but then, well, COVID.
Totally understand. I mean, it seems to me that the mind really is the limit of what we can achieve, and that we are really limiting ourselves by believing in this common wisdom about what we are capable of. I mean, there's more and more people, like, say, Wim Hof, for instance, who train themselves to do some absolutely incredible things and who are willing to let scientists study the effectiveness of their methods, as well as those underlying mechanisms that we don't understand fully yet. And I absolutely love this because it helps other people use those methods and build on them. And it really makes me wonder where we can take this. So, I mean, seeing without eyesight seems like such a superhuman ability. What else do you think as humans are capable of?
Well, I would say pretty much anything. History is full of chronicles of people doing amazing things, whether it's walking on water, instant healing, whether it's maybe not necessarily healing healing the blind, but numerous people, saints and different yogis, their bodies just not decomposing after even years. There's a saint, I believe she's a saint in France, and she's in a glass case, and she's been dead for a couple hundred years, still hasn't decomposed. I saw that on TV. I was like, what? Wow, okay. I mean, not that that's a superhuman ability. You don't want that one. Like, no. Oh, when I die, I'm never going to decompose. That's not really, especially if somebody says, prove it. Yeah. But there are so many things as far as clairvoyance, clairsentience, being able to, I don't know, as far as reading the future, because there's so many timelines and so many different eventualities that could change that. But different out-of-body experiences. I have much experience with the out-of-body experience when I started having them spontaneously when I was a teenager. And remote viewing is something that many governments have had secret divisions to spy on other governments with. So as far as the limits, I think that the biggest, and I'm going to quote somebody else here, it's Robert Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute, which is world famous for its out-of-body training for the layman, but also for the US government, that mankind's biggest limitation is believing in any way that he is limited.
So true.
And so what are the limits? I don't think there really are any, but there's a limit for me. I'm like, I don't know. So I have my own right there. So I'm limited with it. Yeah.
Maybe we can agree that physics limits our abilities, right? I mean, we probably won't instantly jump to another planet or something like that, be quicker than light. So I think physics might be a good limit that
Yes.
defines what we can do and what we can't do.
With the physical body, yes.
The physical body, that's right.
Yeah.
But how can we all start to push the envelope a little bit, if you want? How can we all develop more of those superhuman abilities? Can you perhaps share a quick technique or a quick tip from your program that allows people to test and develop those abilities?
No, well, our method is very precise and it takes a while to learn. So in 5 minutes, I couldn't actually teach that. However, what I could do is I would recommend for everybody a couple things that are not necessarily superhuman, but they're related to health and they were related to getting, stopping the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight, and getting into the parasympathetic, so our rest and digest, which is proper breath, which is deep breathing. So when we breathe, and a lot of people, we take about 28,000 breaths a day, but we're only aware of our breath when we're yawning, when we're holding our breath, or if we're maybe having an asthma attack. Those are things that are kind of distressful for the body. But for the most part, we breathe completely unconsciously. And we breathe, unhealthily. We're the only species that doesn't have a correct way of breathing for our health. We watch, we did, just watch any little kid. Their stomach goes out. You watch adults and it's chest heaving because we're in our fight or flight a lot of the time. So paying attention and being cognizant of our breath as we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, deeply into our stomach, slowly as possible, and then relaxing our body as we breathe in, allowing our shoulders to drop, allowing our spine to be straight, allowing our body to be relaxed, and paying attention. Most people spend the majority of their life as a human doing, not a human being. And so the most important thing, not developing Vibravision, but just developing personal body awareness is with the breath. And that's why, like, we have our breath awareness mastery course that people can do, and that they use it to great effect, because unfortunately, according to the World Health Organization, 1 in 8 people will die because of air pollution.
Oh, wow.
1 in 8 people. So look around you. No, not right now, but I mean, we're in a crowd. Well, when we can go back into crowds, look around and just think, am I going to be that one that dies because the air is so bad on the planet now? And also the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, they say right on their website that 90% of diseases are caused by, 90% of disease is caused by stress.
Right.
So we can literally kill ourselves with our mind, with our thoughts. We can kill ourselves. We can also heal ourselves. And it starts with your breath. So we breathe too much. We actually need more carbon dioxide in our body in order to use oxygen. That's been known for about 120 years now. But we don't think about it. So when we breathe in and we let our stomach expand and we feel the whole lungs, all of it.
Now that you're talking about it. Sorry.
Did I do that? So if you can even time yourself to inhale, hold your breath, exhale, hold your breath, inhale, hold your breath, and do maybe 3 breaths in an entire minute. And then do that for 5 minutes, relaxing more and more every single time. If you fall asleep, it's okay. Just don't do this while driving, because other people are out there too. So with this, that's the most important thing with our body, is our breath right off the bat. It's the first thing we do when we're born. It's the last thing we do as we change our address. And it's one of the things we focus on the very least in our whole life.
That's so true. And I think breathwork has been a major game changer for me as well, because I used to be exactly the person that you described, the shallow breathing, and just never really aware until, or only in those panic situations where you're like, okay, now I feel that I'm breathing, but it's not the healthy type of breathing. So changing that and becoming more aware of that and training it, and really finding a way to get back into this parasympathetic arm of the nervous system. That was huge. And I think this can help so many people. So thank you so much for your tips and insights. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they want to connect or work with you?
Fantastic. So Vibravision.com is our main website. And they can also look for Vibravision channel on YouTube. That's going to have a couple of hundred videos on there that are not just about Vibravision, but also a lot of how we brought this to America. And then on our website, for any of the listeners or viewers out there that would like a free gift and learn a little bit more about how to do this, we have a free gift on our website. So right at the bottom, you scroll all the way to the bottom after you've read everything and seen the videos, and you just sign up, and we will send you a free workout where you can actually do an energy workout that is, well, I'll tell you a story in just a second, a very quick one. But it's a workout that you can do every single day to supercharge your energy and feel and breathe better right away. And a lady that we were doing this for a group on Zoom, and there was a woman that after we were done, and it took about 20 minutes to explain, and it took about 3 minutes to do the exercise, and she was crying. And my brother Mike, who led the class, he asked, what's wrong? And she had her nasal cannula. She had like air tank, right? So an oxygen tank. And she had taken it off before she started crying, or as she started crying. And he's like, what's wrong? And she said, I've had long COVID since April. And we did this last November.
Okay.
So about 8 months. She's like, I've had long COVID. And my doctor said I would never breathe right again. And this is the first time since April I've been able to breathe properly.
Wow.
And it took 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes of that exercise that people can get online for free right now.
Awesome.
And then they can go further down the rabbit hole because we have other courses, and we're coming up with more because we're really here. We didn't start this for me. We started this for we, meaning all of humanity. So
that's
now people can go to that. Yeah. So Vibravision.com.
Again, thank you so much, Nate, for this super inspiring interview. I really appreciate it. So
thank you, Claudia.
And talk soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show. It would mean the world to me because you'd help me reach more entrepreneurs like yourself who would love this show. If you'd like to learn more about creating a widely successful business without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity, make sure to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And why don't you help me spread the word and share this show with your friends? I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure your friends will too. Want to continue this conversation, build real relationships, and join a community of like-minded entrepreneurs? Come join my free Facebook community for visionary entrepreneurs. I would love to see you there. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, grab my free brain priming audio file for entrepreneurs and start priming your brain for success in less than 5 minutes each morning. Curious? You can learn more about how this works and download the audio file at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions. Until next time, bye.